Today, throughout the Christian world, has been designated as a day of mourning for the loss of the Cathedral of Hagia Sophia, or the Church of Holy Wisdom, in Constantinople, which is known by its Islamic title today of Istanbul. It would have been bad enough and sad enough for those of us of the Christian faith with ties to Holy Orthodoxy had only it been converted to a mosque, back to a mosque. But news reached my ears this morning of the Grand Imam who ascended the altar, ascended the pulpit, with an Ottoman sword in hand as a sign of conquest, and green flags hung from the same pulpit, also symbols of Islamic conquest. When interviewed about this later, he praised the conquest of Constantinople, saying that it is their right, and that the sword symbolizes their conquest over the Christian faith, which is why it is important that the sword be used and present. It is ironic that the same people who would say that the Patriarch of Constantinople taking a sword in hand would be a declaration of war, but the Grand Imam of Istanbul doing the same in the Church of the Holy Wisdom is a wonderfully symbolic and spiritual act of a different faith than our own. I have a very simple answer to this. In Christendom, we have swords of our own. And as the bishop and pastor of the flock entrusted to me by Almighty God on the day of my ordination and consecration as a bishop, I will use whatever means and whatever weapons our God has given me to defend the Christian faith and the people of God against all adversaries, temporal, spiritual, and foreign. That may seem like a very strong remark to make against an enemy who seems to be content with holding themselves up in a former cathedral in the city of Constantinople. But take this as a warning. The leadership of the country of Turkey is not stopped by this simple act, for the president of Turkey has announced his intent to, and I quote, liberate the mosque upon the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Now, there are some people in the world who would say that, well, we should just allow them to have these items because they've had them for so long. They have history there. Keep in mind that for 1,000 years before the conquest of Constantinople by the Turks at the Ottoman Empire, Hagia Sophia was the mother church of Holy Orthodoxy and the largest cathedral, the largest Christian church in the world. And for 1,000 years before the conquest of Jerusalem by the Roman Empire, there had been meetings and gatherings of the Jewish faith. For hundreds of years before the burning of the city, there was a temple which sat on the mount. And so we are told simply that we should let bygones be bygones and that we should, quote, get over it. Because the past is past. Who cares about it? Unfortunately, if it were just a matter of history, we could. But history is in the making. The president of Turkey has made it known that he intends to do his best to revive the Ottoman Empire. So what's next? The reconquest of former Ottoman lands by violent force? A new genocide against the Armenian Christians, as they did 100 years ago? Or worse, will they drive their forces to the gates of Vienna and Austria? Will they seek to reconquer Italy? We mourn today not only the loss of a cathedral, but a society which says that an act of violence against people of faith is acceptable because it has to do with history. I stand before you with my own sword, sheathed, a symbol of power, a symbol of authority, but also a symbol of peace. I will not unsheathe a sword in the presence of God. I will not unsheathe it inside of a sanctuary. But rest assured, if the day comes that I must take up arms in the defense of the faithful people of God, this sword will gleam in the sunlight as I defend those entrusted to my care. This is not a declaration of war. This is a declaration of defense. May God grant us peace, and grant us with authority and power the ability to enforce the peace that he gives us. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forevermore.